Boom. Hello. How are we all? We have about an hour and a half before the deadline, and I thought to myself, I've got some extra time, and I might as well go live because that's kind of what people do when they live stream, when they make FPL content. And so yeah, I'm just basically here answering any questions for anyone. Ahead of the deadline and to show what my final team could potentially look like. And that's pretty much it. So we're not really gonna, I know myself, I'm not 100% of my team. I do feel pretty confident in what I have right now, but I could potentially make some changes. But yeah, that's pretty much where I'm at right now. Ishmael, hello. Danny DeVito retracted his message. So yeah, I hope everyone's doing alright. I hope everyone's at least semi-locked in their teams with, only maybe one or two changes left. But yeah, so this is where my team's at right now. I'm trying to remember what I've actually changed since my team selection video. I think Juff's came out for Pedro Porro, Bruno's came out for Rodgers, and for Fulkrug's came out for Mateta as well. I think that's the only three changes that I have made right now. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. I'm not 100% on Mateta, and a couple of doubts have been struck in with Anderson, with Nottingham Forest making a couple of transfers today. Douglas Luiz looks like he's going to be signing, and McAtee, who could potentially impact his minutes, but I think I've kind of locked myself into him right now, and I'm not the biggest fan of Reinders either, purely because of his minutes. So if Anderson's going to be an issue for minutes, Reinders was always going to be an issue anyways. So I'm happy to keep Anderson for now. If something happens, when his minutes are a little bit more limited, I'll probably just move on to Arias, or by that point we'll see how Reinders is getting on, and we can potentially go for him. Hello, stuck between Rodgers and Bowen, Rodgers and Ikitike, or Gakpo and Rodgers. I would go for Rodgers and Bowen. Ikitike looks good for now, but if Liverpool do go and sign Isak, or they will have to sign more attackers, because I think right now they've got Gakpo, Salah, Ikitike and Chiesa as the only attackers they've got. Obviously if Isak signs, what happens with Ikitike, no one really knows. So I think he could be good. Like, he's a good game week 1 player. Maybe if you're wildcarding extremely early, then Ikitike could be decent, but I don't think long term he's the safest play. Gakpo looks pretty decent. I've seen a lot of talk about him recently, but I think I would just go for Bowen, to be honest. I think you know what you're getting with Bowen. Would you triple up defence on Chelsea or Forest? See, I've got double on both of these guys, which is kind of why I'm not the biggest fan of having Mateta, because I've obviously got double Forest defence and I've got double Chelsea defence, and Mateta plays Chelsea in game week 1 and then plays Forest in game week 2, so I am kind of going against myself there. So that's kind of why I'm a little bit iffy on him right now. If I had to triple up on one, I would triple up on probably the Nottingham Forest defence, I think, because Cucurella, I guess Tosun looks pretty decent, but he doesn't fill me with so much confidence, at least with the Nottingham Forest defenders. You get plenty of good options. Williams, Milenkovic, Murillo, all fantastic. You've also got Sells as well, who's good. So I think in terms of like playable and good FPL players, I'd definitely be picking Forest from there. Isn't Pedro a good option? I've kind of grown towards Pedro recently. I'm kind of preferring a little bit more. However, do you know what? I'm going to shut these because I feel like the sun's coming in. With Pedro, I feel as though... Well, I personally can't get him. I don't know if that's what you are asking. I can't get Pedro because I've already got triple Chelsea. I think he is pretty decent. I just prefer... I'm going to give him a couple weeks. I think that's really the only thing I'm going to say. He's not going to have penalties. I just feel as though he's a little bit of a worse asset than he was last year, because he's not got the penalties anymore, and he's obviously a lot more expensive. So I'm going to just kind of give it a couple of weeks. If it looks as though he is going to be starting and getting 75 plus minutes every week, then yes, I will be looking at him. But I still think he could easily be subbed pre-60, around the 60, 65th minute. you know, for Delap, and that's kind of where I'm at. So he's just a little bit more risky. If you want to play the risk, then go for it. Obviously, if Pedro bangs, he's the second most highest owned player in the game, so we will all see a big red arrow if we don't own him. But I'm a little bit, I'm not fully against it, but I think there is better options. Cyrus, hello. For West Ham defender, Diouf or Wan-Bissaka? 100% Diouf, because I think Wan-Bissaka is pretty overrated. And Diouf, I spoke about it, I can't even remember what video it was in, I think it might have been the team selection video, of how forward he has been getting in, or how forward he can play and how forward he has been getting in pre-season, and he's basically playing as a left winger. He has played as a left winger, and he's also played as a right midfielder as well for West Ham. So I think you can see games where he does play up, you know, attack, but even when he's playing left wing back, he's very, very high up. So definitely Diouf over Wan-Bissaka for me. Vardiel news will make Ait Nouri a better option than before. I do agree. I had Ait Nouri in my team for about 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks. He was my... I think I had him alongside Van Dijk. I kind of fell off Van Dijk a little bit. And then Ait Nouri was, again, just a little bit of a risk in my opinion. But now that Vardiel is out, again, you have to look a little bit further than game week 1. I still like Ait Nouri as a pick. And he has one that I probably will be a bit worried about, the fact that I'm not going to have him. But I do really like him, because I think he looked great in the games he played in the World Cup, the Club World Cup. And obviously fantastic at Wolves. You know, probably the best attacking defender last year. And we've seen how attacking Vardiol was last year, and he's not even a natural left back. So I think there's a really good season coming up for Ait Nouri. And yeah, I'm a little bit worried about him, but I could easily bring him in, you know, 3 or 4 game weeks in. I've got a very expensive defence in here. Should the chips be used this early? It really depends. It depends what kind of chips you want to use. I don't think the triple captain's really needed right now. I think you can wait a little bit and go for, you know, you can wait until we know who the worst defence is, and wait till, you know, we see who's in the good form out of Salah and Haaland and stuff like that. I think it's worth waiting for the triple captain chip for now. Bench boost could easily be used as early as you want. It's not the best chip in the game. You could use it in game week 1 if you wanted to, game week 2 if you wanted to. Just don't use a lot of money on the bench is what I would say, because then you are focusing too much on a chip that doesn't really do too much for you. So if you can get a cheap enough bench that has decent enough fixtures, really just you can use it if you want to. There's plenty of good options. Obviously I had my video out a couple of days ago talking about the bench boost, and game week 1 looked decent, game week 2 looked decent, game week 4 looked decent as well, game week 8 looked decent, and obviously we never looked further than that, but I know there is decent options available. So in the first 15 game weeks there's probably about 5 or 6 options for a bench boost. So if you want to use it early, get it used early, but it's just really whenever it suits your team. League codes, I think the league code is in the description. I don't know if, I think it, yeah, so there's a link in the description for the league code. The actual code, do I have the actual code? I can get the actual code, but I would just use it would be take too long to put a graphic up. So links in the description if you want to use the mini league or want to join the mini league. Best goalkeeper, Sanchez by far. I think Sells is a really good option too. And then I don't really like many goalkeepers after that. If I had to pick one, I'd probably go for Verbruggen at 4.5. So I need to try and work out I want to know who everyone's favourite striker is. It's 7.5 million. Can I make a poll? Is that a thing? I can make a poll, right? I'm going to start a poll, right? And I want to know everyone's favourite 7.5 million attacker, because I feel like, as much as I like Mateta, I can't really go against my team right now with double Forest and double Chelsea. So I'm going to make a poll in the chat. gonna go for Pedro, Mateta. Who else is 7.5 million? Havertz, we saw Wood, Solanke. I'll add Evan Elson in there as well. Woods. Oh no, I can't. Okay, I'm going to ignore Solanke because I don't think anyone really wants him anyway. There we go. Best 4.5 million defender rotation. I think from is that poll's not done already, is it? No, okay. I was gonna say defender rotation. I think the ones I was looking at in terms of my favourite defenders at 4.5, it would be Juve, Anderson and Richards. Richards being my favourite. So Richards is obviously good for game week 2, 4 and 5, and that rotates terribly with Anderson because his good fixtures and his home fixtures are also 2, 4 and 5. For West Ham, you're looking, not too bad. They've got Sunderland in the first game, Nottingham Forest in game week 3. His game week 5 fixture is pretty decent as well, but his game week 6 fixture is nice. So I would personally go for Richards and Juve, or you could maybe go for Anderson and Juve as well. But I think they work quite nicely. If I had to pick a 4.5 million defender, I would probably be picking Chris Richards, and he does rotate quite nicely with Juve, so that would probably be what I would go for. Vicario, a decent choice. I mean, potentially. I feel like the fact that we've seen the Super Cup now and he did start, there's no worries about Kinski, so I don't see why not. I think you can probably get more out of the defence. It's up to you. If you don't want to go for a Spurs defender, then sure, why not? But you've got Spurs defenders at every price point. Van de Ven at 4.5, who I'm not the biggest fan of, but he is available. Romero at what price is Romero? 5, and then you've got Porro at 5.5. So I feel like you can get a Spurs defender in if you want. Personally, I do prefer Sanchez and Sells and goals over Vicario, but I mean, he's not an awful option. Why have I doubled up on Forest defence? Because they've got, basically, the Forest defenders look fantastic for defensive contributions. Williams looks good, Milenkovic looks good, and Murillo looks good. Williams and Milenkovic, of course, have a lot of attacking potential as well. Milenkovic obviously from the corners, and Williams being an attacking fullback. And Forest easily have some of the best defensive fixtures in the first couple. They've got Brentford at home in game week 1, who have lost all of their attackers. They have Palace away in game week 2, where I don't think they will keep a clean sheet. West Ham at home in game week 3, again another home game against, it's a green fixture on the fixture ticker. Game week 4 against Arsenal is going to be pretty difficult, but then after that it's Burnley away and Sunderland at home, where I would hope for 2 clean sheets. So I think at minimum in the first 6 game weeks you're looking at 3 clean sheets, hopefully 4 clean sheets if everything went to plan, and of course you get defensive contributions and potential goals and assists and stuff in there as well. So I really like the Forest defence. I've kind of had them locked for a few days now, quite a while I've had them in. So yeah, they're 2 of my favourites, to be honest. Sells, Cucurella, Saliba, Nico Williams, Saka, Palmer, Gakpo, Bruno Fernandes, João Pedro, Watkins, Mateta. Bench, Bentley, Konza, King and Esteve. What do you think? I don't like Nico Williams. I feel like Nico Williams is absolutely fine there. Obviously a no Salah draft, which is also fine. I personally wouldn't do a no Salah draft, but I understand why people are doing a no Salah draft. Gakpo is your Liverpool attack cover, so there's no bad players in there. You've got a full playing bench pretty much. I think Konza, King and Esteve will all be starters. So yeah, I quite like it. The only thing I would say is I'm not the biggest fan of Saka in game week 1, or in general, because you're paying a lot of money. Obviously his goals kind of not, they didn't dry up. Obviously, he was injured for a lot of the season, but his goals kind of, they weren't really there. Last year he was more of a creator and an assist kind of guy, and if he's gonna lose penalties to Gyökeres, you're looking at 10 million for a player who's really only getting assists, which doesn't really appeal to me too much. That's just obviously my opinion on him, but the team looks fantastic. How about Van de Ven and Richards? And let me have a look at Van de Ven and Richards. Yeah, that looks good. I don't see why not. The Spurs fixtures are pretty nice at the start. I'm not the biggest fan of Van de Ven, personally, because his defensive contributions aren't really there. So at that point, I don't see, like, it kind of just reminds me of like buying like a Lewis Dunk last year, or 2 years ago when defensive contributions weren't a thing. It just seems a little bit pointless. But thank you, Bruno. I appreciate that. Hard to you to switch to Wood or Pedro since you already have triple ups. Would have to change a few other things. Exactly. So I've kind of like blocked myself off from João Pedro because I've already got the triple Chelsea, and I've blocked myself off from Wood because I've got the triple Forest. I don't think I would buy Wood anytime soon, to be honest. So I'm not really bothered about that. The João Pedro one is a little bit of a worry, but I'm going to be honest, Cucurella is by far at this point my favourite 6 million defender. So yeah, it's kind of it's difficult at the minute. Aina, Van de Ven and Diouf, what do you think about this back three? I wouldn't go for Aina. I think if you're going to go for a 5 million Forest defender, Williams is definitely the one to go for. I think Aina is definitely the worst of the four back line. Van de Ven's fine. He's obviously very popular and a lot of people like him. And Diouf looks fantastic. So Bruno Fernandes or Rodgers? I do prefer Bruno Fernandes. I just can't afford them, so I have to go with Rodgers, and I don't think that's a bad thing. I think they both look like great picks. They both should be getting 90 minutes. Bruno obviously has the penalties. He's playing a little bit further back. Rodgers doesn't have the penalties, at least that we know, and he's going to be playing further forward. I think Rodgers is a great option. I think Bruno is a great option. I do prefer Bruno if I had an unlimited budget here, but for 2 million spared, I just feel as though my team is a little bit better with Rodgers in it. Thinking of Wirtz, I'm definitely worried about Wirtz because he will be a starter for Liverpool, and he does look as though he was going to be fantastic. You know, Champions League fantasy the last couple of years, he's been brilliant. I'm just trying to avoid new signings is kind of where I'm at. I want to try and play it safe as possible in game week 1. I don't want to get Nkunku, I don't want to get Kwanzaa, so I am just kind of playing it safe. I'm going for the players that I know are good in fantasy football, and yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. I'm definitely open to transferring Wirtz in a couple of weeks' time, so we'll see. I think it does look like a good option though. I wouldn't bench Mateta, I know exactly, so I don't know if I want to even have Mateta. I think I would probably play him over Anderson, if I'm honest. But I don't know yet. I kind of need to make that decision quite quickly, because we've only got an hour till the deadline, and we all know how this website goes. Am I considering Ait Nouri now that Gvardiol is injured? I kind of always have been considering Ait Nouri. Now that Gvardiol is injured, it's obviously better. But I've kind of grown into Cucurella, and again I will be happy to transfer an Ait Nouri in 3-4 game weeks time. So he looks good. Why is Sanchez my vice captain? Because Salah's going to play. I mean, I can change that right now if we really want. There we go. Wan-Bissaka or Diouf? Definitely Diouf. Diouf looks so much better. Going for Watkins as the only forward to play. Salah, Saka, Palmer, Bruno and Reinders. Looks good. I mean, I just realised you get... How have you... you must have like a cheap defence, because that is a great midfield to have with Watkins in attack as well. Why not going for Reinders instead of Anderson? So I spoke about this on a Twitter reply somewhere. Basically, I just don't feel as though we have enough knowledge on how Reinders is going to be. You know, we don't know where he's going to play. He's probably going to play defensive midfield, but now Rodri has travelled with City. Again, it kind of puts it up in the air again. Is he going to play defensive midfield? Is he going to play in the 8? Is he going to play in the 10? We don't know. Is he going to get the same kind of output that he did at AC Milan? You know, he's a new signing, new to the league kind of thing, and you know how Pep is like with that. You know, can easily, you know, rotate him in every single game. So for me, I think there's just too many unknowns with him. Definitely someone that I would be interested in again in a couple weeks if he is a regular starter. I just feel as though I know what I'm getting with Anderson, so I am going to play the safe option and pick him for game week 1. And again, in 3, 4, 5 game weeks time, I'll be happy to move him on to Reinders if he looks good. The only way I could get in João Pedro is if you swap Sanchez for Sales, but then you'd have to get rid of one of the Forest defenders. Yeah, so I don't know if I kind make these changes now, because this is what I did consider. I really can't decide between Milenkovic and Williams. I think Williams does just take it for me. So if I was to take Milenkovic out, Sanchez out, what was the other option? Was it Mateta? I don't know. If I go for Sales and I go for a 4.5, which would be Richards, because that is my favourite 4.5 mil pick. And then I could, what was the other thing I could have done? No, I don't think. I think I would need to find another million somewhere, because there was a way for me to get Bruno into this team, switching things around. But I prefer Sanchez to Sales. I prefer Milenkovic to Richards, and there was just too much going on. And yes, it doesn't block me out as João Pedro, but it's kind of a hard one. Bankai, hello. Sanchez, Porro, Van de Ven, Diouf, Palmer and Dye, Wirtz, Rogers, Haaland, Watkins. Nice. Looks good. I think it's very close to what I've got as well. And you've got a lot of players that I quite liked as well. Do we have any Liverpool team leaks? I don't think we do just yet. Hopefully something comes out though. I mean, I think it's going to be pretty obvious what the team is going to be like. Why is Chris Sutton tweeted out unbelievable team news I'm hearing for tonight's Premier League opener for the FPL community? Very unexpected, but I'm going to keep it to myself. Just be careful is all I'm saying. I think that's got to be taking the piss, right? Yeah, I'm not seeing too much about any Liverpool team news. If anyone gets anything, pop it in the chat. How many minutes will you post your final team before deadline? Well, this still is my final team right now. I haven't made any changes to it. Best 4.5 million defence duo. I would go for Richards and Diouf. Yeah, but we never really know about minutes with Man City players, and that's honestly exactly why I've got no Man City players in this team. Any thoughts on Nuno's comments? I'm on the fence with double Nottingham Forest defence, and there's competition coming in for Anderson, right? I feel like Douglas Luiz comes in for Yates, but I'm not fully clued in on Yates and whether he totally has that spot nailed down. But again, I'm flexible with Anderson. If he has to come out, he has to come out. And if I have to early wildcard, I have to early wildcard. I think Anderson should be fine. And that for me, right now, there's no other options at 5.5 that I like. In terms of his comments, obviously he said, what was it, that the team's totally unprepared. I think that's mainly in the fact that I think they've had 7 pre-season games and not won one of them, but at the same time I think they've had 5 clean sheets, so that's why I've not touched any Nottingham Forest attackers. I've got the double defence and Anderson obviously in there for the defensive contributions, so I'm not too worried. It is in the back of my mind though. Yeah, Ishmael definitely has engagement bait. There's a code to his FPL league right after it. Doris, this is my final team right now. If it depends if the website goes down or not. But yeah, it'll be on here most likely. Jorginho will be this season's sensation in my opinion. I'm gonna be honest, I haven't even looked at Rutter. Is it Rutter? Is it Rutter? I don't know how you actually say his name. I haven't even looked at him because I'm not the biggest fan of Brighton's fixtures at all for the opening. I don't think they've not got a single green fixture until Leeds in game week 10. You know, Fulham are a good defence, Everton are a good defence, City are a good defence. Bournemouth, I don't think are, but they were still 8th for expected goals conceded last season. I think it's just the fact that they have lost a ton of defenders. Spurs this season, I think will be a good defence. Chelsea are a good defence, and then you get to game week 7 where it's Wolves. So I just don't like Brighton's fixtures. I think maybe at some point, then yes, Rutter could be an option, but I've not really considered any Brighton players since the Kuiper in like the first draft. Us Poro owners will need to be careful with Eze signing for Spurs. He'll likely take set pieces from him. I know I'm a little bit worried about that, but I am kind of happy with maybe doing like a Poro to Munoz transfer in game week 4. So I think we've maybe got 2 game weeks left until deadline day. If Eze signs within then, I'm happy keeping Poro for 1 more week, and then I'll just move on to Munoz if he loses the set pieces. I hope the live is just for today because I'll be at work sometimes. So will I. So I am not. I would say I would love to deadline stream every single week, but sometimes it's just not possible. So I will try and do it as much as I can this season. Thoughts on Saka over Palmer to captain game week 2? Saka's definitely one of the better captaincy options in game week 2. I think I just don't. I'm not the biggest fan of having him long term. If I was free hitting in game week 2, then I probably would have him. But I don't really think for other game weeks he's the best option. But in terms of captaincy, just solely for game week 2, he will be pretty decent. If Gyökeres is starting, I would rather have Gyökeres for captain in game week 2. So. Is Konza a good 4.5? He's another one that's really popular, but I've not really picked him too much. He's not. I don't think he's got the best defensive contributions. Villa, as a defence, aren't anything too special, and his attacking threat isn't amazing. So he would be pretty far down the list for me. But I'm sure other people would say otherwise. I'm still unsure. So let me talk to you again about my strikers. So I'm looking at the poll. 63% of you think João Pedro is the best 7.5, followed by Mateta at 26. No one wants Chris Wood, and Evan Nilsson is 9%. Now I was tempted to go for Evan Nilsson, obviously with Kluivert's injury. Evan Nilsson has a good chance of taking penalties. And I've obviously got Mateta on the bench right now because I'm really happy with the starting 11. Mateta probably would come in, if I'm being honest. I don't know. But if I'm going to bench Mateta, obviously the big thing with Evan Nilsson is the Liverpool fixture in game week 1. So if I'm going to bench Mateta anyway, do I just bring in Evan Nilsson and, bench him? What do we think? Wolves at home in game week 2 for Evan Nilsson. Spurs away in game week 3. Brighton at home in game week 4. It's not terrible fixtures. It's not great fixtures either. And then with the extra 4.5, the extra 0.5, I could always upgrade to Esteve. I'm going to play about with it. So if he was to come out, if I was to get Evan Nelson in, got 0.5 in the bank. I'm trying to think of a way to get to Bruno here, and I don't think it's going to be possible. See, I don't know. I'm way too happy with the rest of my team. I'm way too happy with the rest of my team to be starting to take players out. So the only thing I can think of is upgrading Esteve to Richards. Would basically be the other thing. I don't know. What I really want to, I don't know. How quick do we think the FPL website is going to crash tonight? Because I've got technically 50 minutes to make a final decision, but realistically, is that only 20 minutes? Are we going to be down for the last half hour? We've only got 9 million players as well, which is kind of crazy. I was expecting a lot more than that at this point. I don't know how many people sign up after game week 1, but do we not have 11 million players last year? Do you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to bring us over to this screen here on Fantasy Football Hub. Let me quickly move this for you. Do you know what? I'm going to take a screenshot of this because I'm going to need this. Oh. Oh no, what have I done? There we go. Right. Bear with me. There we go. Oh. Right, so we're on the AI rating tool. And I don't know what, actually, let me swap that. 2 seconds. Bear with. What am I doing? There we go. That is, yeah, that'll do us. My watch has run out of charge. Okay. Right. So if I'm going to take Mateta out and go for Evan Nelson, does that upgrade my team? See, Fantasy Football Hub also wants me to do... Where is it? So if I bring Mateta back, my team's got a 98% rating, but what it wants me to do is bring in Semenyo instead of Rodgers, and I'm pretty sure that brings it up to a 99, yeah. So a 99% rating, going for Semenyo over Rodgers. So that's kind of what got me thinking about the Bournemouth players. But I do want Rodgers, so I don't want to do Semenyo. And obviously if I can get a penalty taker in Evan Nelson, then that's a lot more appealing than a Mateta, who's going to be playing against both my double defences in the first 2 weeks. Make sure to leave a like on the stream, guys, as well, if you haven't already. We are up to, I believe, 16 likes. That would be very much appreciated. Nice to see Ndiaye in your team, being on him for ages. He's probably the one player in midfield that if I could replace for Bruno, it would be him. I do think he's the best 6.5 million midfielder though, and I think the fact that there's so many 6.5 million midfielders available, that he's like, that price point is needed, because you're just going to be able to transfer out in and out. And I think the fact that we've got obviously defensive contribution players likes of Nico Williams, potentially Anderson, players that are going to sit in the team for hopefully the entire season. You're going to have a lot more transfers to play about with midfield and attackers. And I think, that 6.5 million price point is about 8 decent players. So I just want someone at 6.5 million in there that I can just swap about with for other players. Obviously, price rises and price falls are going to affect that, but at least you're going to be round about it. And I think Ndai is just the best, 6.5. Who would you bench between Dewsbury Hall, Evanilson, and Reinders? I would bench... Who are Everton playing against? Leeds away? I would bench Evanilson, I think. Liverpool away is quite a difficult one. I do think there's a very decent chance Bournemouth score. You've also got Reinders there as well. I think there's a fair chance that Evanilson does well against Liverpool and Reinders does nothing. Killer Scratch, thank you. Appreciate it. And Ndai and Bruno for me, see your point, yeah. So Evanilson in there, that would put me to 0.5 in the bank. I don't know, who's missing out this team that's glaringly obvious? Bruno, but it's way too hard to get there without messing up the whole team. Like, I think my defence, honestly, I think my defence is locked. The only thing I would do is upgrade Esteve to 4.5. But that seems a little bit of a waste of budget, considering I've already got a capable first sub. There's no other good 7 million midfielders outside of Rodgers. There's no 7.5. I mean, there's Gakpo, but Esteve to Juve, that is... Well, it would have been Richards, to be honest, but yeah, that would be the move if I was to make any move there. It's just the comparison between Evanilson and Mateta that I'm trying to work out. I don't know. Let's jump back to this though. Guys, if you've got any questions, just chuck them in the chat. More than happy to answer. Let me fix this back again for you. Sesko 7.5. I think he's another one, like I've kind of mentioned it, like I don't want to go for players that are just new to the league. He's again someone I can keep an eye on if needed. Evanilson for your team, since Mateta plays Chelsea and Forest, both who you'll be doubling up on. And then maybe game week 4 you can bring in Munoz and Mateta. I know, that is kind of what I'm thinking. Do you know what? I'm actually going to make the transfer right now. I will be keeping... Let's go for Evanilson. And then I'll bench him. Oh, but do I bench him? Because I've just said I feel like he'll score. Maybe go for Anderson in the bench. At least I know. I don't mind that actually. Who's got the higher expected points? So Evanilson's got 4.4 expected points and Anderson's got 4.2. So the team is optimised. Guess that's not too bad then, is it? Anderson to Dewsbury Hall, and then Williams to Nouri or Frimpong. It's not a bad shout either, but I'm locked in on Williams. I feel like he's someone that not gonna change for me. That Liverpool defence was open against Palace. I think people said that in pre-season as well. Like, was it against like the Asian teams that was it an Asian tour or something they done? That the team just looked way too open. It just seems to be the fact that, you know, Frimpong and Kerkez are just getting so far forward that it's just leaving Kanate and Van Dijk, and then they don't even have like a proper six in the team. Obviously Gravenberch, McAllister, fantastic midfielders, but none of them are all out like defensive midfielding players. So I can see them conceding goals, at least at the start of the season. That's what put me off Van Dijk. That's why I went for Cucurella instead. Wirtz and Füllkrug or Bowen and Sarr. Oh. And is there a better 5.5 mid than Anderson? I don't think so. I think Anderson is the best you can get. Obviously other people's opinions are going to differ from mine. Wirtz and Füllkrug or Bowen and Sarr. I basically changed my whole team not to have Füllkrug because I feel like I was worried if he didn't do well in game week 1 that he would be horrendous for the rest of it. Because I don't think West Ham's fixtures are great after that. If he blanks in game week 1 against Sunderland, you've got him against Chelsea at home, where you would probably want to bench him. You've got him against Nottingham Forest away, where you would probably want to bench him. And at that point, you're in game week 4, and you've got 2 points from Füllkrug. So that's where I'm at. I think you could say the same for Bowen, but I think he's more than capable of playing against, you know, Chelsea and Forest and doing something. As much as I would say Wirtz is better than Sarr, I think not being locked into Füllkrug is probably the better move, because you can't transfer Füllkrug out at 6 million because there's really no better options there. Douglas Luiz coming to Forest might take Anderson's spot. I don't know if I agree. Oh, hold on, what's happened to me? Hold on, 2 wee seconds, my face cam's turned off. There we go, we're back. Oh. I don't know if I agree. I feel like he takes Yates if anything. Cucurella is by far the best 6mm defender. He gets into the box so much. Exactly. I do much prefer Cucurella. Attacking wise, he'll be great. I think clean sheet wise as well, Chelsea will be decent. I think it will impact him. Playing Colwell being injured, sorry. I think that will impact the Chelsea defence. But I'm still confident enough in their fixtures and just Cucurella's attacking output. Rangers down to 4.5 million to upgrade Van de Ven to Porro. I suppose it depends how strong your bench is. I don't think the 4.5 million midfielders are great. And Van de Ven to Porro is a big upgrade. I just don't know if it's worth taking like Rangers down to a very poor option at 4.5 million. I think if you could maybe find a million somewhere else, then yes. But I don't think I would do the 4.5 midfielder option. Why the priority on defence? I just think defenders are going to be so much better this year. I feel like they have been good in previous years. You know, like Gabriel's and Saliba's have been fantastic. And defenders are where the added points have came from now with the defensive contributions. So defenders are only better. And you know, there's a lot of good options available in defence, like tons of options available in defence. And I feel like up front, there was no one other, like not even Watkins I'm fully convinced by. I'm not really the biggest fan of any of the attackers, so that leaves midfield, in which case I would only want Bruno Fernandes, and to get Bruno Fernandes, I would have to downgrade about 2 or 3 defenders, so it doesn't really work for me personally. Yeah, 4.5 mil would probably be king from Fulham, and I don't really think he's going to do much more than 2 points per game. I think that's like picking Harry Winks from Leicester last year. Is Bruno a good option? I think Bruno's one of the best midfielder options you could get. Other than Salah and Palmer, I think Bruno's the third best midfielder. So am I keeping 0.5? I don't want to keep 0.5 in the bank. Do I want to upgrade the Stevie to Richards? Because if I upgrade the Stevie to Richards, and then I want Munoz in game week 4, then I have double Palace defence in game week 4 for Sunderland and West Ham, which I don't mind. Only other option is going for Diouf, who I think is a bit risky, and then maybe Anderson. Sorry, I'm just playing about with my team on a different tab. At least, nah. The thing is, as well, if I pick Evan Nelson and don't use the point, if I do use the 0.5 on a defender, then I'm locking myself out of 7.5 million. 7.5 million strikers. Why is this so difficult? King would be benched more often than not, and I play 3-4-3. I think if Bugcats, if you've got a good playing first sub, then yeah, sure, go for it. I think if if King's going to be your first sub option, I don't think it would be worth it in case you get an injury somewhere. What's your plan transfer wise for the next few game weeks? Do you just plan on holding transfers until game week 4ish? Yeah, that's pretty much exactly what the plan is. I think game week 4 looks like a decent swing for like Palace players and stuff. That's kind of what I'm looking for. So hopefully no injuries, so we can go into game week 4 with 3 transfers. So yeah, your defence is more than good enough to not need 0.5 to improve it. I do agree. I just don't want 0.5 in the bank because I feel like it's wasted. But at this point, I totally get what you mean. And looking through my team, I'll probably bench Richards more than not. So yeah, I think at this point I just keep the 0.5. Which again, I don't really like. So I'd like to use all my money in the team. But at least now I'm safe for any price rises and price drops. And any game week 1 howlers. What time we're at? 6 o'clock. We've got half an hour until the deadline. What about chip wise? Arsenal's fixture swings in game week 7. I think so. Maybe a wild card then, and just bench boost whenever. I'm pretty much just like, fully winging it with chip strategy. I'm not really planning anything. I think cause we've got chips to burn in the first half of the season, I'm just gonna wait until an opportunity comes up. So yeah, it could potentially a wild card potentially in game week in game week 7. I'll see how the team looks. I'll see how many transfers I've got. I think right now, the one that I have liked the look of is the wild card. I think it's game week 13. Trying to save as many transfers as possible, and then you get like 1 or 2 game weeks. I think it's 14 and 15. You get like your wild card team, and you can use 5 transfers pretty much. Between that, I can't remember exactly what it is, so I'm probably explaining it horribly. And then obviously you get the unlimited, the 5 transfers back in game week 16. So you're basically getting like a ton of like free hits, basically, for a couple of weeks in a row. But if my team's a shambles at any point, wild cards, I'm not really going to worry about it. As soon as my bench looks decent, I don't think GW1 is going to start off the bat. If he does, fantastic. I'm well in for an early bench boost. If not, then I'll wait. And I think I was looking at a game week 8 bench boost. I think it's Burnley play Leeds, I want to say. So Dubravka and Esteve have a decent game. At that point, maybe I'll bring in Arias from Wolves. I think he's got a really nice game. I want to say he played against Sunderland in game week 8. If he's on penalties. So game week 8 is where I'm looking, but I'm not locking that in at all. Triple captain is going to be used on the best attacker against the worst defence in however many game weeks time. Reinders or Rodgers? 100% Rodgers. Gueyo's ownership is scary. If he doesn't start straight away, many will sell him off to early bench boost. I feel his price will drop. I get that as well, to be honest. Yeah, that makes sense. He's one of those ones that if he starts, he's a great, dead option to sit in the back of the bench. But you can always play it safe and just go for, I think is it Krippy Jr. from Bournemouth? He probably won't drop in price. Reinders to Sar and VDV to Poro I can do now if I swap Milinkovic to Nico. I like that. Yeah, I would do that, Bugcats. That's a good move. See if we've got any Liverpool news yet. See, now that I've got everyone else in my team and the ownership of João Pedro, I am so tempted to just... I don't want to move Cucurella at all, but the option to move him to 8 Nuri's there, and then I can get João Pedro in for Evan Nelson. And that way it just covers me off as 54% ownership in case something happens. I don't know. That's probably just last minute delusions. Nah, I'm not going to do it. I said I'm going to stick with players that are safe. So I'm not going to bring in João Pedro. Stick with players that are minutes secure. I'm kind of just trying to reconvince myself. Minutes secure players that have penalties. João Pedro has neither of those, so that's why I'm not going for him. I just need to remind myself for that. No worries, Bugcats. That's literally the only reason I have Pedro's ownership is so high. Too much of a trap. Yeah, I totally get it. I feel like Pedro's what, like who? So they're playing Palace in game week 1. Is Pedro? Is Pedro the kind of Pedro is the kind of guy who rises 0.5 or drops 0.5 in the first 5 game weeks. Like if he has 1 blank, he gets mass sold. If he gets 1 goal, he gets mass bought. I feel like that's kind of what I'm thinking with Pedro. I'm going to be honest, I think I'm happy here. The last right, I'm going to put up another poll just to get people. Let me end this poll. Thanks everyone that voted for the 7.5 million defender, striker. What I'm going to do now is I'm looking for some tips for my team for a change. Evan Nilsson or Anderson. Let's see. What do the people think? Do you know what? I think I basically locked this team in yesterday, and I've not made any. I know. I think I have locked it. I think I have locked. Yeah. So the team's been saved. We're good. Just. Aye. I totally forgot what I was saying there. Aye, I locked this team in yesterday, and I'm glad I've not made any changes, because I feel like if I was sitting on the last day making a ton of changes, there would be a lot to worry about. But my midfield stayed the same, and I've not been tempted to change it because I know I can get to Bruno. My defence hasn't changed because I think it's good when you do tinker around with your team and there's no one you want to take out, which is kind of what I've been doing all day, trying to fit in Bruno and realising like I really don't want to take anyone out that I've got here. And I did get to the stage where I was really only worried about Mateta. I'm still not 100% on Evan Nilsson, but we're there now. At the end of the day, he's got minutes up front. I think that Dango's away to Brentford as well, isn't he? If he was playing, he was obviously playing as the striker. I've got Evan Nilsson, who is minutes locked. He's got penalties potentially, probably, over Kluivert while he's out injured. So I'm happy enough. And Liverpool's defence. We're backing against Liverpool defence this weekend, or tonight. Oh, it's tonight. I forgot it was tonight. Now I've got 2 players for tonight to sit and enjoy. I need a goals fest tonight. Salah to score a hat-trick. Evan Nilsson to score against the leaky Liverpool defence. Hold on, what if you... Okay, 80% of people have said Evan Nilsson as well. We've only had 5 votes so far. If you haven't yet voted, go ahead and vote in the poll for who should be starting, Evan Nilsson or Anderson. Can you explain to me about why Cucurella is the best 6 million defender? I'm trying to remember the exact reasons I used. I done it in my team selection video from 2 days ago. I had loads of reasons. Basically, pre-season, Cucurella has been playing so far up the field. He literally had a dark heat spot in the middle of the box. So he's playing so far up the top. Obviously, if he's going to pick up goals, fantastic. Chelsea's defence, I think they kept... I can't remember exactly the figures. You can go check it yourself if you want to. But they kept a ton of clean sheets towards the end of last season in the Premier League. And they kept a good amount of clean sheets. I want to say like 3 or 4 in the Club World Cup as well. So clean sheet wise, they look great. Obviously, they did have Colwill in that match, in that period. But I want to say in the final against PSG, they obviously were missing Colwill in that, I think. And did they keep a clean sheet? Pretty much, he looks very, very attacking. And Chelsea, clean sheet wise, look really solid. That's what... Yeah, so they kept a clean sheet, 3-0 against PSG, and I don't think they had Colwill in that Oh, they did have Colwell in that match. Sorry, that's my bad. Ignore me. But point still stands. Defence is solid. Cucurella is extremely attacking. But it is very close for me. Out 8 Nuri would be in my team if I could confirm that he was going to start the next 5 matches for Man City. That's kind of where I'm at right now. Evan Nelson penalty tonight, we will be there. Fingers crossed, because the amount of people that have Frimpong, Van Dijk, you know, I think Frimpong's one of the most owned players in the game. The amount of people that have Van Dijk, we really need to wipe out that Liverpool clean sheet tonight. And I don't want it to be Semenyo. Is it crazy to go for Trafford in goal? I think so. Obviously, it looks as I think he does play tomorrow. Ederson has been ruled out, but I think City are going to go and potentially sign Donnarumma. Maybe Man United sign Donnarumma. I don't know, but I think that is in the air, and I wouldn't want to be making a goalkeeper transfer so early on. So I would just play it safe. FPL Turkey, hi, good luck with the channel. Would you do Sanchez and Saka or Areola and Palmer? I would do Sanchez and Saka, but I would use the money to not get Saka and go for someone else. I think Bruno Fernandes Bruno Fernandes would be the pick. Maybe if you can get Wirtz instead and then use the extra Saka money somewhere else. Cucurella's been locked for me since last season. Yeah, I really like him. No worries, Albie. Big fan of Cucurella. And it has came about recently when I actually started looking into him. I'm happy. I've had another look at my team and I'm content with it. I'm glad. I feel like so many people are going to be panicking. Ishmael, you look as though you're panicking. I feel like so many people are going to be panicking over their team, and I'm quite happy, content with mine. I think looking at everything, I've got 2 worries, and it's Evan Nelson and Gueyu, and I don't care about Gueyu, and there's no better option than Evan Nelson, so we're good. Murillo and Ndiaye or Rodgers and Williams? I would go for... Oh, that's a good question. I would go for Rodgers and Williams. Yeah, I think Williams is better than Murillo. Rodgers is better than Ndiaye. For Bruggen, Nico Williams, Bruno, Fulkrug, or Sells, Milenkovic, Rutter, and Bowen. I would go for... So, Sells is better than Verbruggen. Williams is better than Milenkovic, but very close. Bruno's better than Rutter. So I would want Sells. Oh, I would go for Bruggen, Williams, Bruno, and Fulkrug. It's very close to Omar, but I would pick option 1 there. I have all Haaland, Salah, and Bruno. Still trying to decide between Saka or Palmer. Oh, see, then I would be picking Palmer. Like, I think if you can, obviously you're going for between Sanchez and Areola. Is Areola 4.5? If Areola's 4.5, and if you could pick between Sanchez and Saka or Verbruggen and Palmer, I would go for Verbruggen and Palmer. Like, Palmer's definitely worth the extra 0.5 more than Saka's. If you can find that elsewhere without having to downgrade Sanchez, then I would try and do that. Anderson and Caicedo, I would go for Anderson. I think he'll get less defensive contributions over the course of the season. I just realised Anderson's also winning in the poll. 15 votes and 60% of people say Anderson. Guys, I need some Evan Nelson votes to make me feel a bit better about myself. Do we really think Anderson's a better pick than Evan Nelson this week? Did I flip a coin? Oh, but I think if I flipped a coin right now and it landed Anderson, I would be disappointed, and that's why I think I know I should be going for Evan Nelson. Bruno, thank you. Konza or Joof in defence? I'll go Joof. Risky, but I would go Joof. Would always play the striker in my opinion. I think that is the problem I had last year in benching Raul Jimenez way too many times. I don't know if any of you keep up to date with whatever, like the load of shit that I post on Twitter. But Raul Jimenez killed me last year. I think I had Raul Jimenez from game week 13 to about game week 28, and he got more points on the bench than when I started him, and I started him more often than I benched him. So I think I get what you mean, Bugcats. I think you have to start the striker in that situation. Gakpo and Ndiaye or Wirtz and Anderson? That's a very good question. If you asked me this yesterday, I would 100% go for Wirtz and Anderson. No, do you know what? I'm still going for Wirtz and Anderson. Yeah, Wirtz and Anderson. Surely Evan Nelson, likely on pens. Yeah. See, I'd be so gutted if Semenyo takes a penalty tonight. I remember the Raul saga. Yeah. Oh. Horrendous. 15 minutes to go. Surely we'll get some sort of leak now, right? Has anyone seen any Liverpool leaks? Gakpo not start. That's not real, by the way. I've just made that up. See, I'm seeing a few teams now, people moving off Anderson because of the transfer rumours. I just don't like Reinders at all. I'm going to start with Anderson a couple of weeks down. He's on my bench anyway, Anderson, and he can stay on the bench if needed. I don't mind playing Porro against City if I need to. I think everyone else is fine in game week 2, so I can always bench Anderson. Yeah, I'd be fine to do that. He probably won't drop in price. I don't think he's owned enough to drop in price. Yeah, I'm happy to keep Anderson, and then I can always transfer him out for like Arias down the line if Arias takes the penalties. Can't decide which 6 or 6.5 million is worth it. Thinking about Grealish, but he's not going to start, is he? I mean, he could start. But I think the price point at 6.5 million is a lot better than the 6 million price. I don't even know what midfielders there is available at 6 million. If you go for the 6.5 million option, you have a lot of chance. You've got a lot of movement with transfers. If you go for the 6 million option, you're going to be limiting yourself to 6 million and below, which is Anderson, Reinders, Arias, Xhaka, Christie. Not a lot of huge options. 6.5, you've got Enzo, Rice, Ndiaye, Mitoma, Sarr. So many good picks. So I would go for 6.5. I do think Grealish will start. Maybe not straight away. I don't know how integrated he'll be into the team, but I think he will be a regular starter for Everton. Dylan, hello. If you just post your team in the comments, and I'll read it out and give you an opinion. Think best 6 million is Damsgaard or Dango. I don't really like Damsgaard. Dango is someone who could be decent. I don't know if he'll be the new striker for Brentford. I doubt it. He'll probably be a winger. But he's not going to play game week 1, I don't think. Because I think that transfer is just going through today. So the chance that he plays this weekend, I think, is pretty unlikely. Buendia has had a fantastic pre-season, keeping in mind that Rodgers will get his minutes incoming from an injury. I don't think the injury was really that bad. I mean, he's only been out for maybe 5 days and he was straight back in training. I think because it was a pre-season match, it was made to look a lot worse because obviously they took him off, but I think that's really just precautionary. I've not actually seen how Buendia got on in pre-season. But I don't think does he play the same position as Rodgers? Is Buendia not more of a winger? Rodgers plays through the middle. So Buendia was playing off the left. And Rodgers was playing... I don't know, Jeff. Buendia did have a game through the middle in pre-season, to be fair. Yeah. I think Rodgers will start. But I see what you mean. About Damsgaard, new coach is using him as a 10 and he was great pre-season. Last season he was playing as an 8. Got you. Oh, who is this new Brentford coach, by the way? I actually need to post... right after this, I'm going to do my Premier League predictions and post them over on Twitter. But I think there's a very good chance Brentford go down this year. Is there... I swear there... Brentford's new manager's never managed a team in his life. Brentford manager. Keith Andrews. Who is Keith Andrews? Keith Andrews. Keith Andrews, manager career. MK Dons? Is that it? No, is that who he played for? Oh my god. Yeah, I don't think he's ever been a manager in his life. Yeah. And the fact they've lost all their players, I don't think it's looking good, to be honest. Dylan's team is Sanchez, Areola, Porro, Collins, Milenkovic, Williams, Richards, Wirtz, Palmer, Gakpo, Reinders, Bruno, Attack, Gyökeres, Watkins, Fulkrug. Yeah, it's nice. Who are we missing there? Salah's not in there. Palmer's in there, which is good. Gyökeres and... Yeah, I really like that, to be honest. I mean, I'll be honest, the one player in there that I'm not the biggest fan of is Collins. Everyone else seems really nice. Collins is 5 million, I think. You've got Richards, Williams, Milenkovic. I like Williams and Milenkovic. I like Porro. Yeah, I mean, I don't mind that at all. It looks pretty decent. Ndiaye and 0.5 in the bank or Rodgers. I go for Rodgers. I think Rodgers is a lot better than Ndiaye is. Marmoush, Bruno, Dewsbury Hall, Fulkrug or Rodgers, Rutter, Anderson, Bowen. I would go Rodgers over Marmoush. I would go Bruno over Rutter. I would go Anderson. Rodgers over Marmoush. Bruno over Rutter. Anderson over Dewsbury Hall. Bowen over Fulkrug. So it's 2 each. Who's going to be the better? I would go Rodgers, Rutter, Anderson, Bowen. Just because I think like Rodgers, Anderson and Bowen are 3 solid players. Marmoush's minutes are going to be a little bit limited. Don't really know about Dewsbury Hall and don't really know about Fulkrug. So I would go for the option 2 there, Omar. We have 5 minutes left until the deadline. Is the website still up and running? Is what I want to know. It is still working. It is still working. Has anyone seen anything about Liverpool? I'm seeing one thing that's got a tick beside Wirtz's name. I don't know how reliable that is. Take a quick screenshot of my team and post it over on X or Twitter. I hate calling it X. What a terrible name. I think that's us. Everyone locked in, everyone else locked in. No one's doing any last minute tinkering that they shouldn't be doing with 5 minutes to go. Yep, Collins has good fixtures, decent defensive recovery points and scores goals. Fair enough. Fair enough. Sanchez, Dubravka, Esteve, Anderson, Virgil, Murillo, Van de Ven, Palmer, Sarr, Salah, Fernandez, Anderson, Watkins, Evanilson, Guerrero. Looks great. I think that's very similar to mine. What's different? You've got Virgil instead of Cucurella, Murillo instead of Milinkovic, Van de Ven instead of Williams, Sarr instead of Anderson. No, you've got Anderson. Sarr instead of Ndiaye. And you've got, yeah, I like that. It's a nice team. Bruno and Nico, or Wirtz and Murillo. Bruno and Nico, definitely. But stop making transfers with 3 minutes to go. It's not safe. Let's see, are we seeing any late news? I think we're good, guys, not gonna lie. I think we are there. I'm locked. Thanks for the stream. Probably should do these more often. I would love to do them more often. I will try and do them as much as I possibly can this season. It is good fun. I think that's the one thing I would really like to improve. Is the how often I live stream. But thank you. I'm gonna stay on to the deadline just in case anything pops up last second. I think we should be okay. Sells, Tosin, Milinkovic, 8 Nuri, Reinders, Neto, Wirtz, Rogers, Kudus, Bowen, Haaland, Verbruggen, Ekitike, Van de Ven, Juve, bench boost. Looks nice. Looks nice, Shkar. Good luck, everyone. We have, what have we got? I don't have my watch on. Fantastic. Just go over a minute. I'm excited. When does kick-off? Is kick-off 8 o'clock or is it 7:45? No matter, that team looks great as well, mate. I like it. Kickoff is at 8 o'clock. And we will be there. Almost there. 10 seconds. I just want to say thank you to everyone that did come out today as well, and thank you to everyone who supported throughout pre-season. I feel like we had a pretty decent pre-season, and I'm glad there is so many different picks, because normally everyone has a different team. Normally everyone has the same team. The templates, I feel, so different. at least like the template. I think last year the template was like between like 15 players. This year I feel like there's 25, 30 good players. A lot of people going without Salah, a lot of people going with Haaland, a lot of people going without Haaland, a lot of people going for both. You know, Bruno and Wirtz is a big, you know, debate. The defences seem totally different. You know, a lot of people with Van Dijk, Aït-Nouri, and you know the 4.5s are all different as well. I feel like there's so many good players available this year. So I'm glad the template's different. I think they absolutely nailed the pricing as well. And I'm just, before we go, just want to show you what the winning team looks like this year. And it's this one on screen. But yeah, this is at the deadline. Guys, thank you all so much for coming out. I will try to do these more often. I really have to, because it's quite fun. And I do quite enjoy it. So keep an eye out. Subscribe if you are new, and make sure to leave a like on the stream before you do go. Thank you all for coming out, and I'll see you all in the next one. Good luck for game week 1.